Hey everybody, Shane Presley here with Rock Paper Podcast. I want to tell you about a couple of exciting events coming up. Coming up on June 11th, we'll be celebrating 1 year of singer-songwriter storytelling showcase at Naked Vine with Michael Eisenbeis and Susie Bassino of Find a Drive, and Michael Flynn and Dustin Brown of Waiting for Flynn. So we'll have 4 riders. We'll have grilled cheese going out there that evening. And we'll have plenty of wine, whiskey, tequila, and local craft beers. So join us at Naked Vine June 11th. It's a $10 cover for the evening, 7 o'clock start. Let me tell you about my friends over there at Naked Vine. If you haven't been by yet, they're doing really amazing things with some local St. Louis music and some of your favorite national regional touring acts and stuff coming through there. So live music Thursday through Saturday. Coming up this week, May 23rd, Bedlam Brothers will be out there playing all your favorite Dylan tunes, so come on by. Friday, May 24th, Chris Roost and Mike Buck will be there. And on Saturday, May 25th, Diesel Island returns. You can find all this information and more at nakedvine.net. Be sure to follow along with them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and get involved with them out there in Chesterfield, Missouri. Hey, another big show coming up I want to let you know about. We're celebrating 5 years of Rock Paper Podcast on June 22nd, and that'll be at Broadway Oyster Bar, and I've invited along my good friends Amanda Fish, Tony Campanella Band, and Oddsoul, along with the great live music all night happening. We'll also have live art from Jessica Hitchcock. She'll be doing a painting throughout the evening, which is I'm really excited about that too. And along with all this, we'll have great food from Broadway Oyster Bar and cold drinks all night long. So join us out there at Broadway Oyster Bar on June 22nd for some great live music. Again, music starts at 10. It's an $8 cover for that show. Come out and party with us. This will be 5 years of Rock Paper Podcast. It's pretty wild. So get involved. Everything going on. And last but not least, I want to let you know about my friends, Joseph Meyer Club. If you haven't checked them out yet, head over to josephmeyerclub.com right now and check out their foaming aftershave. You can try today with 20% off using my code RPPJMC20 during checkout. Again, josephmeyerclub.com. Get involved with them also on Facebook for more information. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the support over all these years. Really, the show means so much to me, and I'm glad you all have been listening, and thank you. Have a great day.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
What up? This is Caroline Steinkamp, and you're listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast, y'all.
Hey, everybody. Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today at the Arcade Building.
The Arcade Building.
Yeah, with Caroline Steinkamp.
Caroline Steinkamp, what's up?
Hey,
that's me.
Welcome to the show. This is exciting. I'm glad to be here hanging with you. We've had
Thanks. I'm so glad to be here.
Quite the adventure already today.
Oh, yeah.
But this is cool. I was going to tell you because I just asked for clarification, make sure I said it correctly. But when I think of your name, I immediately went to one of my favorite Brian Regan bits. I'm sure you've heard it. Or
have I?
I don't know. Well, maybe you know.
Tell me.
But he talks about names, and he's like Carolyn and Caroline. He's like, they have a real thing about that. He's like, don't get that wrong ever. And he's like, and then
it's funny because it's true,
right? And so he's like, hey Carolyn. He's like, it's Caroline, Brian. It's Caroline. And he's like, oh, well, it's not Brian, it's Brian. It's very hard to say my name correctly, and all. So anyway, great joke, great. He's one of my favorite performers.
I think I have come across that, and I have a coworker named Carolyn, and I wanted us to be rivals, but I actually like her a lot. So
Yeah. Nice.
damn,
Yeah.
worked out.
Yeah. But anyway, this is our first time really hanging out. We've definitely been at a lot of the same shows, talked a couple of times, but this show I use as a great excuse for me to sit down with people I interested in with musically and stuff, and we can hang out and talk and get to know each other a little better and not have to like scream over a band or something or whatever
Definitely.
it is. So I know a little bit, but like I know you just recently, I guess, kind of diving into being more of a solo performer, right?
Yeah, that's a new development for sure. I've spent a lot of time kind of on the periphery of things, doing backing vocals and what have you.
Yeah.
And I've had this material for a while, and I'm just kind of now starting to get out and do little showcases and work the open mic circuit and let people know that I'm actually kind of plugging away at this solo thing.
Yeah,
So
nice. Well, look, take me back to the beginning. Like before we get to that, I guess singing's always been there for you. I mean, growing up
yeah, my mom tells me that I was humming the tune to Barney before I could talk. So
good old Barney. Yeah.
there's that. Yeah, and I grew up doing choir and show choir and whatever plays I could get my hands on. I was always doing that. Family was unfortunate enough to have to watch me put on like Spice Girl reenactments and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
same.
same. Everyone does that, right?
I still do that, so I don't know what you're talking about, but
Typical.
yeah. Spice up your life, everybody.
Girl power. And they're going on their tour, so check that out, I guess, because they need a plug.
Right. Yeah. They that is cool though that they are like back at it. Like I mean, it's been what 20 something
with
years
no
or-
shortage of drama.
Right.
Have you heard about that at all?
I've heard a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess-
I think Piers Morgan asked Scary Spice Mel B if she had a history with Ginger, and she came around to being like, "Well, yeah, there was this one time," and then that caused a beef between Ginger and Mel B. But everything's cool now. Don't worry.
Right.
But it's just the four of them on the tour.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Who's
Spice Girls are a big influence.
Yeah. But I mean, they were as big as it gets for a while there. Definitely. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's crazy. I also want to shout out to our sponsors of today's episode, Cheese Sticks and Goose Island beer here. We got it. We're going all out.
We got an urban wheat ale by the name of 312.
Yeah. So proud sponsor of Rock Paper Podcast.
Totally.
Just cheese sticks.
Sargento.
Oh, okay. Sorry. But so you're singing some Spice Girls and Barney, and
Nothing but the hits.
right, and like you said, you're involved in a lot of the choir and plays and stuff, and
Yeah, whatever opportunity I could get to sing and get in front of people, I was taking
Yeah.
that. Talent shows and stuff like that in middle school, high school,
Were you doing this-
college.
were you doing those Spice Girl songs at talent shows, or did you?
No. By the time I was able to do a talent show in middle school, I did If I Ain't Got You or If It Ain't You
Oh, yeah.
by Alicia Keys.
Yeah.
That was one of the first songs I sang in front of anybody.
I like to sing that in my car when I hear it. I listen to a ton of 90s on 9 and my Pop 2K on my Sirius satellite. And I hear that and I sing it and I think it sounds just like Alicia. But for whatever reason, whenever I record it, it doesn't. But in my head, it sounds.
Technology's
yeah,
so
it's-
weird.
I'm waiting for the technology to catch up to where, like, can actually record my voice
Really
proper.
capture your
Yeah.
true inner Alicia.
Right. Yeah. But in my head, it sounds like I'm just nailing it, like, and just crushing it. So.
My first solo in show choir was to Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, like the intro part, the tonight I'm gonna have myself. So I did that as a solo, and like before we went on to compete for I don't know, regional or whatever conference we were doing, my teacher was like, I need you to bring out your inner Carolicia for that particular solo. And I don't think I totally succeeded, but you know, one under the belt, you know, I did it.
Yeah.
It's half the battle.
Right. What, did you play keys, I guess, that for that performance too?
No, not at all. I've only started playing keys within the last 3 years, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Maybe 4. But I really just play for the purpose of writing. Like, I wouldn't ever subject someone to me popping in on like a jam sesh. Like, it wouldn't be successful. I can do what I do and pull it off. But yeah, I don't play piano to show off my piano skills. You know, I'm just like, this is what the song is, and here it is, and here we go. But over the past couple months, I've been working with Jacob V and hearing it on guitar, and Jacob Baxter's helped me with some stuff before too. He's played that song Walter C, and it sounds cooler on guitar, and I like to be able to just focus on the vocal. But for now, I'm not waiting on anybody to accompany me for anything. I'm just getting it out and seeing what comes of it.
Sure. Well, a couple great guys to be working with for sure.
Totally. I only work with Jacobs.
Yeah.
So if you have another name, change it.
Right.
And then we can collaborate. But they're both awesome though.
That would be funny. The band name, just the Jacob and the Jacobs, you know.
Right.
So,
Calling all Jacobs.
right. This is Jacob over here and Jacob and so on.
As far as the eye can see.
You well, so when did writing be kind of enter the picture as you starting to want to write originals and things?
I always wrote like super angsty bad poetry in my assignment books in like middle school and even before that. And like I remember one day I was passing my assignment book to somebody behind me to like show them something I'd written, and my German teacher, Frau Davidson, took it, and it was a whole to-do because they were like, this is dark, and there was like a bunch of teachers that were like talking about it and like trying to see if I was like okay, and I'm like, I'm just an angsty teen, it's fine. But yeah, I would always write poetry, and sometimes that would evolve into like I would write out like a song structure and sing like lyrics and melody with it. But I never really paired it with any kind of accompaniment until like a couple years ago. And so I started figuring out how to make a chord progression and how to pair it with what I was already working with. So I think the first like structured thing I ever wrote before keys was involved, I was super bored. I was in California with my mom. We were at her house, and I would just like hold myself up in their room and use their dial-up internet. And I remember one time I was just sitting in there and I wrote a song called like Build Me a Prison. And I was listening to a lot of like Good Charlotte and Newfound Glory at the time. And so I wrote this song that was like, build me a prison, the walls built high. And that's like how it was in my head. But I wrote it like verse, chorus, like a structure as far as I knew how to do at the time.
Yeah.
So that was my first masterpiece, if you will.
Yeah. Any recordings of that lingering around?
No, thank God.
You put it on LimeWire on your dial-up connection.
Yeah, it's a Pirate Bay exclusive.
Oh, okay, nice.
Napster.
Yeah. That is Good Charlotte. I just actually saw those guys at the pageant the other night. Like,
Yeah, how was that?
it was fun. I mean, it was entertaining.
It was Good Charlotte?
Yeah, it was. I'm glad I went. I was never like. I liked their first record a lot. Like I liked. I was,
What was that one called? It's like with GC on the cover with like clouds behind it, right?
Yeah, I think one of their.
Or was it just a self-titled?
Yeah, I think it was.
Charlotte?
Yeah, and then like he had like that pink patch in his hair and what's
Benji and Joel?
Yeah,
Or are you talking about
I think I forget which one which one is which though.
Joel's kind of the more like Benji's way more alternative looking.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Either way.
Joel's married to Nicole Richie.
There you go. Yeah. But they it was entertaining. Like I said, I'm glad they played a lot of tried to get into some newer stuff, and nobody wanted anything to do with that. And then like they realized like people wanted the old stuff, so they went. They played like, so it was fun to hear like, Little Things and Motivation Proclamation and like
the anthem.
Yeah, and but it was like they basically were saying like they were there. I think they were going to play Memphis in May. So they had this big festival they were playing, and they booked the pageant like last minute kind of thing. It was a late booking. It was a Wednesday, I think it was, but it was fun that it was like basically a practice, a band practice type of.
That's cool to be able to like be a fly on the wall for that type of thing. Like
sure, yeah. So
if you call the pageant a wall,
right. Yeah. It was a good time. I'm glad. Like I said, I'm glad I went, and I had a good. It was. I went with a couple buddies, and we were just. It was like going back to high school. So it was.
Love it.
Very a lot of nostalgia coming back. So for sure. So. But
didn't think I would spend so much time talking about Good Charlotte in an interview when I like was conceptualizing in my head like what an interview would be like.
You never know where you never know what's going to happen with these things. That's why I love doing it. Like
I'm not complaining, by the way.
Sure. Well, I got a whole another hour of Good Charlotte material, so hopefully you're ready.
Let's do it. Let's take them apart song by song.
Right.
Analyze this.
But that, I think we all kind of definitely gone through that, especially because, teenagers, we all went through a lot of that stuff where you connected to that moment and where those songs and stuff, they were all a part of our childhood. So
hardcore. I had a t-shirt with them on it, and from Hot Topic, of course.
Sure.
And I wrote them a fan letter, and I never sent it. But I think somewhere in there I said, your album, The Young and the Hopeless, is like the Bible to me. I probably shouldn't be sharing this with people. But I was like, I feel like no matter how I'm feeling, I can turn on that album and there'll be something that I can relate to that day.
Yeah. It was, what's weird is like, so I listened to a lot of that stuff, several years ago, when it was out there and like, but I never really like deep dive into the catalog. I was more just the hits that were on the radio,
Sure.
Everybody knew that stuff. But listening to it now as like an adult, I went back and listened to it before the show at work the other day, and I was like, man, there was like some really dark
themes.
There's a ton of suicidal stuff in there.
Totally. All to a nice little pop punk soundtrack.
That's what I'm saying. Like you don't, the music made you lead it to believe it was some of it was a little more happier and poppier, but like you listen to these lyrics and you're like, man, there's some messed up stuff in some of these songs. And I like as a younger as a teen, I get a lot of it just went right over my head. I didn't think about it, but then like now it made it a little more. Everything kind of clicked and stuff. I was like, "That's some pretty heavy stuff for sure." But
yeah, that's why the angsty teens love it.
All right, yeah.
They're like, well, at least I don't have all this going on, or maybe they do, and they feel like they can relate to it.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it.
So it definitely serves a purpose, even if it's like it can be fluff at times, But it works for somebody, and it does what music is supposed to do, and if you enjoy it, then that's its purpose.
Yeah. I think that's what's nice about that stuff is like it did definitely relate. It's like makes you realize that somebody else has been there before. Whatever it is, whatever the themes are in the music and things. So, but it's nice to know that you have some. Even if you don't know those people personally or whatever, you can that you can share that story with that.
Totally.
That they were there and Yep, that's what I love about it, like connecting to those lyrics and things like that, and all kinds of different music. So, but let's. You mentioned Walter C. let's get into this. We did do a little live jam of you playing Walter C.
Oh, I remember those times.
Yeah. And
An hour ago.
we had a lot of fun, and we got a nice recording. I'm excited to share it with everybody. We did a little music video with it too, so people check that out too. Yeah, you sent me a little like demo version of the song, and immediately it was like connected to it. Like just I really liked your voice on it and playing, and just like I really thought it was a beautiful song. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then you got to telling me a little bit more about it, and even made me appreciate it even more. So you saying, and that why we're here at Arcade also, you said there's connection here and all
Yeah,
this.
there's definitely a connection with that song. So I used to live here. I've been living at my new spot for like a year, but before that I lived here for about 2.5 years, and I got in here really quickly. It was really important to me to get in here because it's an artist space and there's a lot of great amenities here, and it's a beautiful building. And so they kind of offer like an artist rate, and then there's like a market rate for the apartments. So I was able to get in for the artist rate with like a portfolio of whatever I was working on at the time. And, and so when I first moved in here, I found out that it's where my dad bought my mom's engagement ring back in the 70s. So this building used to be full of storefronts and like offices and stuff. So like we were walking by like umbrellas and fine leather goods and shoes and pianos and like kind of just retail that's a little bit more fancy, I guess. And when my dad came to see where I was living, we went on the 3rd floor, and he ran down the hall to show me where it was that he bought my mom's ring. So fast forward like maybe a year later, and I'm walking by that, and I'm kind of writing songs pretty often. And so I kind of created this fictionalized version of their engagement. So it has like bits and pieces of their lives in there that are maybe not in order, or maybe not the feeling that they were having or whatever, but I just kind of made this folktale kind of from his perspective, I guess you could say. And the jewelry store was called Walter C. Blatt. So that's where that song comes from.
help me, Walter, see. It's all I've got to keep her around. And don't you think she's pretty?
You know, it has that personal touch to it for you and then for us now too, like that you share that story with us. But like, I think that's what's fun is learning that kind of different writing techniques and things where you can. It's there's one of my favorite. I talk about it a ton on the show, but Will Hogue, and like he writes some of these songs, and some people are like, get mad at him, that he he's like, oh, like. Because something like maybe he'll be like singing about, or he'll be talking about his family and his kids at home, and then I'll write some song about like cheating or whatever, or what and people think like that's a true story. And he's like, not all these are they're not true stories.
Totally.
And stuff. You can put yourself in a character's position and tell the story that from their perspective and stuff. But I like that when a writer can put pieces of themselves in a song and stuff, even if it's your parents or whatever it is. And so I think that's a neat touch. Like I said, makes it real.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I wrote that, and it kind of opened up new possibilities for other songs. Like, you can put out a song that's about. It sounds like it's about a romantic situation, but it could really be about like something at work or falling out with a friend or a band or whatever, and any kind of relationship. Mm-hmm. And you can just kind of mesh it all in there. I was reading part of like a Pattinson book. He has a book out, and it's like, don't let reality get in the way of the truth, which I like that. All right. I kind of use that as a guiding force at points.
Yeah. You, so how many songs do you think you've written today? Like, is there we got quite
what I'm playing out right now is I have probably about like 10 songs that are solid, but I've written, like I said before, just lyrics. Mm-hmm. And then I have like a whole lot of half-written songs, and I have a bunch of songs that I've written with chord progressions and melodies and lyrics that I just may have not played out recently, or I just need to dust them off. So I guess if I had to guess, somewhere around like 30 or 40 maybe, as far as like fully written things that I could just go back to and maybe dust off.
Sure.
But that's...
Do you go through some of those old notebooks and try to revive something like that?
Yeah, it might be a notebook, or it might be like a voice memo or whatever. I'll just have like a little snippet, and I'll go back to it and flesh it out. Mm-hmm.
You think this is shaping up to be an album or an EP, or what do you plan to do?
I'll probably try to attack an EP before I try to do an album, but I don't have a whole lot of experience with just recording my stuff just yet. I have been meeting up with people that I was taking a songwriting class with at Merrimack. We have been getting together and planning like a compilation. So the class is over, but the teacher took it upon himself to get us all together to work on like an album, like a compilation of all our different stuff. So I'll at least get that out of the way, I think, before I try and do anything more serious.
Yeah, very cool. I've been actually thinking about a lot of that. Like, I sort of done it digitally, a little bit with Bandcamp. You can kind of put together some stuff. I put like some of the live albums or live recordings from my show on there, and then I started doing it with like a Spotify playlist. Started putting a bunch of people that've been on the show on a playlist and things. But I came from like the era of Point. The 105.7 The Point was doing those Point Essentials, and they had all these compilations with all kinds of St. Louis rock bands and stuff. And I always thought that was cool. And I was like, I want to kind of do something like that. It helps kind of everybody get a little spotlight and stuff. And
yeah, totally. I love seeing those compilations around, and makes me think of like now.
Oh yeah,
back in the day, if we're gonna go back to those times again.
How many? What are they on now?
Over 200 probably.
Still going.
Going strong.
You got all of them? You got the complete collection?
Yeah, they need a plug. Everyone go out and buy one now. There was Cool Tracks too. That was like the redheaded stepchild of Now. It was Cool Tracks.
Yeah.
There's like 10 songs on them versus like the 18 actual hits on a Now, and then Cool Tracks would have like lesser hits and fewer of them. But shout out to Cool Tracks.
Sure. I saw somebody shared like a meme thing. It was like hit clips or something like that.
Yeah, I was
was
just
like-
trying to explain that to somebody recently, and they didn't remember it.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I haven't thought of that in forever.
I didn't have that, but I definitely remember that. That was a super cool moment in time. But I remember going to a Sbarro in a mall food court, and on the top of my soda, there was like a mini CD,
Sure.
and it was like 3 Britney Spears tracks.
Oh, nice.
I don't remember which ones they were, but they were all like different versions of the same thing. It was like the dance remix, and then there was like the Spanish version or something like that.
Yeah.
But bring those back, Sbarro, if you're listening.
Yeah. I feel like if I say enough businesses, I'm hoping they send me some free products at least, or
Yeah.
I'll gladly accept cash too. So whatever is accepted. But
Yeah, Sbarro's sounding real good right now.
Right.
So
If you could just-
anytime now.
if you just give us some pizza, I mean that will go nice with this Goose Island Brewing Company. Beer, man.
Shout out to 312
I think
Urban Wheat Ale.
I think this beer's kicking in if I said beering, so must be working.
Good. I'm glad I could help.
I always feel like too that scene in Wayne's World, when he's like, I will not bow to corporate sponsors and all, and all stuff, and he's like wearing like the Domino's,
All the
this
brands.
stuff, and Pepsi, and all, but yeah, Nuprin, it's yellow, it's different, but like,
It's yellow. Like that.
So we do have a big show coming up. You can come.
Big, huge,
You can come see Caroline. live.
unprecedented.
We have the River City Opry
Yeah,
on May 26th. That's a Sunday.
it is.
And 1 to 4, right?
That sounds right.
Something like that. It's a daytime show. And
kid-friendly.
Kid-friendly. I think it's $5. And
Wallet friendly.
Yep. And if you haven't been out, it's over at off Broadway, and it's a great space. Honestly, one of my favorite rooms in the city. But Brad Jackson's been heading that up River City Opry for, I think, a little over a year now. He's been doing those
Fighting the good fight.
every month, and yeah, he does a great work and bringing a lot of my friends and a bunch of great talent out there every month, and. So you'll be out there along with some of our friends. You said is Jacob? Are you guys doing like a duo set? Or
Yeah, so Jacob Wiedemschek, Jacob V, he's going to be playing along with me on my originals, and we're going to do a couple covers as well.
Okay.
So it'll be him and myself, and then Andrew Dahle will be out there, Cherokee Moon, Amber Skies, Oddsoul and the Sound. Who else we got?
I don't know.
Is that everybody?
I think so. That's maybe.
Sorry if we missed you.
But
But come out to River City Opry and
For sure.
shout out to Brad Jackson
yeah, that's gonna be a fun afternoon for
bringing
sure.
me on.
Yep. So come on by. And again, that's your Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah. So hopefully some nice times outside and enjoying the weather.
Yeah.
Hopefully the weather will be nice.
Yep.
So
But so we got that. And if I guess we can now follow your official artist page on Facebook for more information coming soon on upcoming dates and all that stuff. Now,
yeah, it's just creatively named Caroline Steinkamp for now.
I mean, I don't know where you come up with a name like that,
I
but
know. Ask my parents. I take credit for it all the time. People are like, I like your name. You're like, thanks, I made it myself.
we did open up the conversation to to some fan questions.
Uh-oh.
If you want to entertain some of these.
Let's
see. Most I'm guessing this happens quite a bit. It's just your friends like to start throwing a bunch of good ones on here for you.
Yeah, there's some good ones. There's
Yeah.
some trash, but I like a little bit of trash and a little bit of quality. What can I say?
Yeah. That let's start with this one just because it caught my eye and it's happens to be one of my favorites. But which character from The Office do you most closely relate to?
Oh, I wish I would have thought about this a little more. I would say probably Michael because he has a heart of gold, but he kind of bites off a little bit more than he can chew sometimes. And I appreciate that about him.
Yeah.
And he's just goofy as hell. And so that's probably the biggest thing that people would recognize about me and Michael that we have in common.
And you say that's what she said jokes all the time too, so.
Yeah. People keep trying to tell me to stop and I can't.
That show is so good.
It's such good therapy. I need to watch it more often.
It's one of those things like, and the same goes for Office Space also, which is another cinematic classic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's great because everybody does relate to all those characters. They're such great characters.
Whether you've worked in an office or not,
right?
Just dealing with the daily grind is.
And if you don't relate to one of them, you definitely know those people. Like they're all real people. Like
definitely
that you work with every day, and it's pretty hilarious for sure. But this I just recently kind of went back and I got late into it, like when it was actually airing. So I just recently, like through Netflix, went back and started over at the beginning and had been watching. I don't know, I forget what season it is, but I one of the last couple. I remember they went was Jim and Pam's wedding and stuff, and so I'm getting pretty far along in the series. But it's such a great show, though, for sure.
Totally.
But that was a good one, written in by Megan Rose.
Thanks, Megan.
Speaking of TV, we got another TV one here from our friend Adam Donald.
Oh, Christ.
And he asks, yes, Animaniacs or no Animaniacs?
So I feel like if I revisited it as an adult, I might appreciate it more. But I think as a child, I was annoyed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't really into the like classic animation as a kid, like Looney Tunes or whatever. It didn't speak to me. So I remember Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, they need to calm down. They're stressing me out. Get off the water tower. Someone's going to get hurt.
All right.
Chill out. But I feel like I heard something recently about it that made me want to like go back and revisit it. So we'll say maybe on Animaniacs.
All right. There we go. Maybe Animaniacs. Let's see. Emily writes in, what's something you learned growing up that you wouldn't trade for anything?
I don't know if it was growing up, but one of the first things that comes to mind is middle C on a keyboard. I feel like if you know where middle C is, your world opens up completely. And I knew that for a long time, but I wish that I knew how to apply it a little bit earlier. And I think maybe we would have had this conversation maybe a couple years ago instead of now. But yeah, people are like, oh, I don't know how to play an instrument. I don't know how to write songs. And I'm like, if I can do it, you can do it. Here's middle C. Google the rest. So yeah, that would be one of them for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Emily also writes in, when you were a tot, what did you want to be when you grow up?
When I was a tot. I remember having a conversation with my dad when he was picking me up from my friend Sarah's one time, and he was like tying my shoe, and I I think unprompted was probably like, I want to be a dentist and a figure skater and a singer and an actress and an astronaut. I don't know. I was probably really fired up that day, feeling really inspired by something. But yeah, I kind of always was really drawn to singing and performing, and I think I kind of stumbled into acting a little bit more as like a middle schooler, high schooler, just because that was kind of what was available. Like there's no like, there is now, there's like School of Rock, but when I was a kid, there's no like, here's a rock star class, you know? So I was just kind of taking whatever opportunities I could. But yeah, I've always been super drawn to performing. I need a lot of attention.
Yeah. That would be a good cartoon skit right there. All those characters meshed into one, that like a dentist and figure skater.
Same
and all,
kid,
like,
just doing different things.
Well, or like, you know, the dentist that does a figure skater and a singer and, you know, all that, everything, actor.
Yeah, I was like, I got this.
Right.
I can do any and all of these things. Cue puberty. I can't do anything.
Let's, Megan writes in, what are your least favorite things people say when you tell them you're a musician?
My least favorite. I don't know. I think people have well-intended questions that I just don't have great answers for sometimes. Like they want to ask like, what kind of music do you do? And it's kind of hard for me to say that, just because partially when I write songs on the keyboard, it's not how it sounds in my head. Like in my head, it's this fully fledged, like produced indie pop track that may or may not have keyboard on it. So that's not the end game there. But I think more what I could answer better would be like when I'm at work, I'm like serving or bartending, and people are like, so what do you really want to do? And I'm like, I don't think I have a better answer for you that's going to make you feel better about my future. I'm like, what do you do outside of this? Well, I sing and I write songs.
All right.
So
I get a lot of, it just makes me laugh because I can tell, like, especially through Facebook, you know, people are vaguely aware of what you're doing, you know, especially if you're promoting shows or whatever and that kind of stuff, but they're not like fully invested in it and stuff,
right.
You know, but then like, but when they see me, they feel like they have to talk about it, or, you know, and so they'll be like, hey, so you still doing that podcast thing or what, you know, that kind of whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, still doing that thing. And like,
right.
You know, so, so hopefully someday I'll get to the point where people like, you know, it's not just
accept that it's not it's not really like a hobby.
Yeah,
it's like a way of
doing it. Yeah.
life at this point.
I mean, this is still a hobby, but I put a lot of effort into it. It's not just like, you know, I'm not just something silly or whatever. I'm something I'm really passionate about, just like you and you're performing and singing and writing. And, you know, I put a lot of work into it and trying to make it as bigger and better every time. And
right. It can be hard to talk about something that's so close to you and means so much to you when it maybe isn't at the point that you want it to be yet. Like in my case anyway, I'm like, it could be hard to broach that topic.
Yeah. But this show has definitely made me like connect to artists on a whole different level. Like, not that like, you know, I've obviously been a part of it with being a fan and stuff, but like, you know, realizing like how much, because like my all, you know, just same thing when you put your first recordings out there and stuff, like same thing for me. Like when I started putting the show out there and it wasn't quite the quality we wanted and stuff, but it was all we had the money for at the time. And and it's like, if I go back and listen to those, I'm like, you know, they're like, we didn't know what we were doing at the time.
Yeah, but you did it.
Right. But so it's nice to like have that. There's definitely a lot of growth in the 5 years of doing it, but it's like,
yeah, you've got to do it in order for it to get better.
Right.
That's the
but
difficult
everything's
part.
been documented over the, you know, it's like people have you know, heard all those past episodes that weren't as good, and but you know, it's all part of the challenge. You got to
Yeah, you can't wait till
Right.
you're ready.
Sure, yeah, you can't see
Yeah.
it. So, but there are people. Unfortunately, there are those people that they don't leave the basement. They stay down there. They're too scared to get out and take a chance and
Yeah.
or whatever. They're incredible players or singers or whatever, but they don't have the confidence in themselves to get out there and show the world. They just stay in the basement and play. And
Yeah,
But-
I feel like I'm late to the game because of that same kind of thought process. Like if you wait till you're what you think is ready, then you won't ever be ready because you won't be out there cutting your teeth. You won't
Sure.
be messing up the way that you should be in order to get to the next step.
Yep, yeah, you got to trial by fire. You got to learn sometimes just getting out there and doing it. That let's see, we got another one. Kitty writes in,
Hi, Kitty.
if you were to play a gig with a few artists, what would your ideal lineup be?
Ooh. I think it would be super cool to be on the same ticket as like the Stones or any number of people that inspire me, but I wrote down a couple that I am really inspired by right now. I don't know if it would be a good combination, but there's an artist called Leon. She's Swedish, and yeah, her stage moniker it looks like Leon but with a accent mark, so I never know how to say it, but she's super inspiring to me. I love Lord, Leaky Lee, Wet, Banks, King Princess. These are all like moody indie pop girls. Florence and the Machine would be awesome. So yeah, any combination of those. Anderson .Paak, that would be cool to share a stage with him.
Yeah,
Lizzo,
yeah, that would be.
that would be wild.
I'm excited.
I don't think I could stand up to her energy, but
I'm excited. It's like, I've definitely seen the videos and, and stuff, but like, I'm excited to see the stage show. I guess she came through on a Lou Fest, but I must have missed her.
yeah, I think she was a little more under the radar at that point.
Yeah. But now she's sold out the pageant in like a couple
She's
couple
doing
minutes.
big things. And my good friend Meg, hi Meg, she surprised me with early tickets.
Very nice.
An early birthday present with, we're going to go see her in October at the pageant.
Jackpot.
Yeah, I'm super jazzed on that. It'll
Yeah.
be really exciting
Yeah, definitely.
to go see
I'm
her.
gonna try to make it myself. Try to get in there. That'll be pretty wild. But yeah, she's taking off.
She is, and I'm so glad because I feel like her confidence really serves a purpose. Like, it's not just confidence for the sake of being a diva or being cocky. It's like her confidence shows other people that
Absolutely.
they can show up and be the best version of themselves as well and be proud and unapologetic. And
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Be a voice for other young girls.
Totally.
Yep. That's one thing, like the kind of that side of it, like, is very, very powerful for me. Like, and I'm sure, you probably seen some of it yourself. But it's like knowing that ripple effect, like that, that somebody can, come out to one of your shows and hear one of your songs or whatever. And they're like, I want to do that. Like, and then like, whatever, just like, that kind of thing. Like, that's to be able to inspire somebody, the youth to want to do something or whatever. It's like, I don't know, that stuff's crazy to me to think about. Like that you can make you might not even know it, but you can make change that person's whole life and stuff. So
Yeah, I like the first thing I do half the time when I get off a stage is if there's a little girl that I can go talk to, I'd love to go talk to them and kind of get a feel for them as a person. And like, I like to, in some roundabout way, be like, you can do it too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned Stones, and they were supposed to play the Jazz Fest this year, and then they had to cancel the date. But unfortunately, but I did see a fun kind of a goofy shirt. I don't know if you saw, did you see it? There's a
shirt.
Yeah, it was somebody made a T-shirt, and it was at Jazz Fest, and it was like, you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get. And it was said Rolling Stones, and that was crossed out. and then Fleetwood Mac was supposed to replace them, and they had to cancel.
Oh my
So
gosh.
Fleetwood Mac was crossed out, and then it was Widespread Panic was on there. So I thought it was pretty funny.
Same thing, right?
You can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get Widespread Panic. So
That works on so many levels.
yeah,
Yeah, I saw a video of him recently, like working out some choreography in the studio, and one of my favorite comedians and like internet personalities posted it.
Talking about Mick.
What's that?
He's talking about Mick.
Yeah, Mick.
Yeah.
Mick Jagger. Yeah. He was like working out choreography in the studio, and it's like you'd think that all that stuff is improvised, but
Right.
he's like really working it, figuring it out, ironing some things out in there.
That video is of him and David Bowie with like the audio taken out, the music taken out.
Oh, you'll have to send that to me.
It is incredible. Like they're like just dancing. You know, that whole music video. They're dancing around, but there's no music, so it's just like, and it's makes me laugh so hard. So
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys are super inspiring.
Yeah.
Like just their stage presence and kind of transcending normalness.
Sure. Yep.
Just like really, really living it up.
You let's see what we got. We Emily also writes in, what is the mantra you find you repeat to yourself most often?
I don't know if this is a mantra, but I have the word permission tattooed on my wrist, and I have my signature underneath it. And that kind of comes from the idea of not waiting for someone to give you permission to go do what you want to do, or to be the best, shiniest version of yourself. Like, I'm learning that more every day, I think. But I got it so that I could start doing the thing and start chipping away at what it is I want to do. So you can't wait for someone to be like, this is okay for you to pursue, or you're good enough for this. Just go ahead and give yourself that permission. And usually when you show up as yourself and are vulnerable and do what you want to do, I feel like it shows and it works out more in your favor if you just show up for yourself instead of waiting for someone to
Sure.
bless you with permission.
All right. Samuel writes in, if you were stranded on an island and had to listen to one artist's entire discography for the whole time you were there, which one would you pick and why? That's tough.
I gave this some thought, and I don't know if I like my answer, but it's the answer that I have. So I said,
Good Charlotte.
on a loop, nothing but all the deep cuts. I was going to say the Beatles, because their catalog is so extensive. 1, 2, it covers
Everything.
all different eras of themselves. So, and there's every mood, and it spans, a significant amount of time. And
Yeah.
so I figured that would be the most, it would have the most variety there.
Yeah, that's I mean, they went from pop, to the craziest, rock stuff and all. I mean, like,
Super simple stuff all the
Yeah.
way to like Wall of Sound
Sure.
stuff.
yeah, there's everything.
And I haven't delved down that discography as much as I want to. So that would be a good opportunity if I was stranded on an island
absolutely.
to just really dive into the Beatles.
We've got some time to kill.
Yeah.
So, what you going to watch that movie yesterday? You going to go check it out?
Sure.
That looks interesting.
Is that brand new?
It's coming out in June.
Okay. I hadn't even heard of it.
You haven't heard of it? It's
I live under a rock sometimes.
Well, let me tell you about it. Proud sponsor of Rock Paper Podcast. Yesterday, now in theaters. But it's so the premise of the movie is that this guy, I don't know how he gets to this point, but he's the only one that knows of the Beatles. like
Wild.
And,
so he's got to plug them on Rock Paper Podcast.
yeah, exactly. And so
This little indie band from Liverpool.
so he starts playing these songs, and they're like, "Oh, you wrote that?" And he's like, "No, that's the Beatles." And he's like, "They're like, who?" And he becomes like the world's largest pop star, kind of thing. And
That's wild.
And he's like on Jimmy Fallon and all this. They show all the different talk shows and the commercial and stuff. I guess we'll have to watch it to find out why and how and.
Is there a face in that I would know, or not necessarily?
I don't know. It looked like a pretty. Besides like the celebrities that are in the movie towards the end and stuff as he becomes famous and things, but I think for the most part the cast looked like I didn't recognize anybody. It's from the people that also directed Slumdog Millionaire and stuff. So
Cool. I'll keep a lookout for that.
But yeah, it was an interesting concept for sure that. To think about that world that if the Beatles didn't exist, so and what music would have been like without them. So
and culture and
right, exactly,
everything.
Yeah. So, but yeah, those 4 guys created again, like I said, that changed the world. So
Yeah, that was one of my first concerts I ever saw. Was Ringo down at the Levee when they were doing those free concerts down there. And I don't remember it very well, but I think they closed with Yellow Submarine, and we were walking away, and I was like, I miss Ringo. He's cool. I was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That's one of my first memories, though.
Nice. Yep. He I really wanted to go to see Paul at Busch Stadium. I thought that would have been
That'd be an experience for sure.
But I didn't make it. But he just seems like the coolest though. Like I don't know if I've seen some interviews like when he did like carpool karaoke with James Ford and stuff.
And they did the pub performance.
Yeah, right. He just
I heard him on Marin. I liked him on WTF.
Yeah, and he did a real nice interview with Stern too a while back. I
haven't listened to any Stern yet, and I love interview style podcasts, which is what makes this a little bit nerve-wracking for me. But yeah, I love interview content and interview style podcasts. So I have a whole realm to dive into with Stern for sure.
Yeah, well, he's one of my favorite interviews. Like some of the other stuff can be a little much, but he as an interviewer, I think he's just one of the best for sure. Like he's and for him being on, especially on satellite, it says also what I love about podcasting is the fact that you can have a 2-hour conversation with Paul McCartney and no commercials or anything, and just So, Cara Louise writes in, friend of the show. Where are you in this picture, and can I go there now?
I was in Gulf Shores at Pirate Bay, or maybe it was somewhere in Florida. We were in the Floribama area. I was down there with Britton Wood and Brad Jackson and Maddie Shell, and it was a hell of a time.
Yes, I can remember following you all through Facebook. Some of the pictures you all posted afterwards, and I'm like, man, that sounds like just the best time. Like
it was great,
hanging with the buddies and hitting the water and everything, and just
Britton got a shirt made that said Beach Girls on it, and it was good.
Yeah, he's another one of the best. That guy's always makes me laugh.
Go on a road trip with Britton if you can.
Yeah, I need to make that happen. He's always making me laugh. And one of the best mustaches around for sure. Like all and Brad, his beard combo too. Like all those guys, they don't mess around when it comes to their facial hair.
I know, I can't compete. Unfortunate.
I did laugh on there because, and as you've been called around town a lot, Aunt Carol, that they put Aunt Carol on the shirt.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about that. Like, when did that start there, or is that something that's been going around for a while? Or
I think where it started was actually when I was living here. I had a coworker, Jess Dixon, J-Dix. She called me Aunt Carol because I was like, sometimes I go down to the 3rd floor and I do yoga, and I go to the steam room and I go to the gym, and then I walk around downtown. And she was like, "You're so cosmopolitan, Aunt Carol." You're like, at the time I was like 23. And so she was like, "You're like a woman in her like mid 30s who's like got her life together," which is totally the opposite. But that little snapshot, that moment kind of made that. And then they would call me that when I was working at Flying Saucer with her. They would call me that. And so it kind of grew out of that. And I have some friends that call me it more often than others. Like Jacob Baxter pretty much exclusively calls me Aunt Carol. But yeah, I got a couple nicknames out of that.
Yeah.
Couple years.
There you go. Yeah. That's way better though than like mine is. I just usually get Big Shane or something like that. So I'm like,
I get Aunt Carol, Sheriff Carol, Carl. Those were all the names that were out of that. You always want to like make your own nickname when you're younger or even now, but like nicknames that other people give you definitely stick more than the ones you try to give yourself.
I did give myself a rap name for whenever my hip hop career takes off.
Oh yeah, you need one.
Yeah, and I was gonna go by Insane Shane. So, yeah.
That's good though.
Yeah, that's so.
You could go on tour with ICP maybe.
There you go.
Or Clownvis maybe.
Yeah.
More realistically.
Yep.
But I heard he's going on tour with them or is affiliated with them in some way.
Yeah, he's definitely toured with ICP. He's down
Get
with
it, Clownvis.
He's down with the clowns. They were just here. Sprayed Faygo all over the place again at Pops.
Yeah, Brad Jackson was telling me that they like with their new material, they basically came out as like a Christian group, which I think is interesting. Something to research.
ICP did?
Yeah. They were like, "What'd you think that was all about?" I don't remember. I'm paraphrasing from Brad Jackson. He could tell you the story better than I could,
All
but
right. Let's call him
rumor is ICP is a Christian band.
All right. Well, they were called a gang a little while back.
Gangs can be Christian too,
Yeah,
Shane.
so I would just think it's they're going covering all their bases, being a gang, being clowns, being a Christian.
They do it all.
Yeah.
They're Renaissance clowns.
Right. Yep. I do love that meme that was like Guy Fieri and the guy from ICP and the lead singer of Smash Mouth all being the same guy, and like because it's pretty hilarious.
I would appreciate that if it were. I'm just going to go ahead and pretend that they are all the same person.
I mean, have you seen them all in the same room? So.
Exactly.
Right. Think about that.
Theorize on that.
Let's see. I think that's about it for our fan questions segment.
Okay.
Which I feel like we learned quite a bit about Aunt Carol through this.
You're all welcome.
Yeah. But this has been a ton of fun. I'm really glad we've got to hang out this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you for trudging through the video times with me. That was much appreciated. And I look forward to seeing the product.
Yeah. This has been great, and I'm really pumped to see what happens. I mean, now that you're making this move as a solo artist and doing more, I'm really I want to hear some more songs, and hopefully we get an EP or something together soon. And we got enough great players around to, Jacob and all these guys like you're talking.
Slowly but surely.
All the Jacobs, get all of them on.
Only Jacobs,
Yeah.
Please.
And,
Just kidding. If you feel the need to collaborate, please hit me up.
But I think it'd be fun to put a group together and make a nice record, and
I'm into it. That's the end game here.
Let's make it happen.
And before we wrap up, just thanks for doing God's work out here, man.
Oh, well, thank you.
Shane Presley's always plugging local stuff and making things happen. I'm trying. Thanks for giving me a seat at the table and welcoming me to the club.
My pleasure. I I don't know. I'm just trying to do my part. I feel like everybody, thanks me for it or whatever, or like what I get for on the list, when I make those lists of shows in town, everybody wants to like start jumping on board and telling me like, hey, there's this show, and I'm like, you can make your own list too. Like,
yeah,
like, I don't have to be the only one that does it.
No, you don't have to do it at all.
Right. Well, it's not that, but like, we should all be doing it. Like, that's my thinking.
Right.
It's like we should all be continually talking about how great our St. Louis music scene is, and tell everybody about it, and let everybody, keep the conversation going all the time. Like, that's all I'm trying to do is like keep everybody talking about St. Louis music. So,
well, we appreciate you, and
well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks everybody for listening, and have a great day. And I will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Well, yeah, that was it.